numbers called upon. And he has not. Jeez. Towns just baited him. Towns was the one who let him go to that spot wide open. He baited him. He baited the inbounder to pass that guy the ball. He baited that guy to turn around and take the shot, knowing that he could get there and block it. Unbelievable defensive play, Big Cat. But so yeah, look for the Wild to get healthy sometime soon. If the Wild do not get healthy, look for their, you can't really call them woes, but, for lack of a better term, look for their woes, their flux to continue. And they will be, a 500, slightly more win than loss team until they get healthy. Because right now we've only got one line of offense, and that's the Koivu line, our first line. That's the only line that can seem to score the puck. So, until that happens, that's where you're at. And, not really much news, and we'll do some league standings for NHL maybe next week when we don't have a giant UFC pay-per-view match card to discuss for, an hour or however long I rambled on it. But we are getting through the topics, believe it or not. All we got is NFL football, college football, WWE, and NASCAR. Well, one of these things definitely is not like the other. Let's get NASCAR out of the way. All right, so NASCAR season is ending. The final race is this Sunday. It will determine the Cup winner. Last week, the race was in Phoenix. There was rain delay. Junior crashed. However, there was controversy, and Junior, even though he crashed, ended up winning, although it wasn't good enough to get Dale Jr. a spot in the Final Four. Harvick finished second last week. Logano finished third. I thought for sure Logano was going to be in the Final Four the way he was tearing it up here in the chase for the Cup a couple weeks ago. Alas, your Final Four, are you ready for this? The Final Four contenders in the Sprint NASCAR chase for the Cup Series is Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, who is one of only 4 NASCAR drivers to have 30 or more wins and no titles. 0 titles. 0 Cup titles. Kevin Harvick, who is the defending champ, and one of the best second-place finishers of all time. If you remember his epic second-place streak that I brought up months and months ago on the show at the beginning of the NASCAR season. And then in his final season as a full-time NASCAR driver, how more storybook could it be? Jeff freaking Gordon, the Tide Man himself, is your 4th and final competitor in the chase for the Cup. Jeff Gordon has 4 Cup titles to his credit. The most recent one he won was all the way back in 2001. So what a swan song it would be for Jeff Gordon and his Hall of Fame storied, illustrious career to go out as the Cup champ. I mean, with the Cup as the season champion. I never in a million years thought it would have ended that way, especially not watching the first half of this NASCAR season. Like, Jeff Gordon must have came on and just had a monster second half of the season and then won, in just the right races to get automatic berths in advance in the playoff round. But he could end up winning it all in NASCAR this year. Like I said, I can't believe Logano wasn't in this Final Four the way he was dominating in their playoff rounds. But that's just, I don't know, that's how they score it and determine the teams, I guess. But so that's you've got a huge storyline going into the final race here this Sunday. Catch it, I would think, on probably NBC, maybe an ESPN or a Fox Sports, but I'm sure it will be televised somewhere, and not on a football channel. So it won't be on CBS, it won't be on Fox. It might be on ABC, it might be on NBC. I would check those two first. And there will be, it's not like in this final race those are the only 4 guys on the track racing each other. That would be freaking awesome, though, but it'd be totally different, than your normal race. But so look for, if you're into NASCAR, it'll be important to see who gets, what pole positions, throughout the remainder of this week and the weekend going into that race. If anybody's having any car, engine issues, anything like that. My prediction, I don't know. I don't think it's the Cinderella story with Gordon winning. I don't think Harvick goes back to back. I think my money is on Kyle Busch breaking that, no longer being one of 4 racers to have 30 wins and, no season title. Or Truex Jr. as just kind of the, nobody knows who I am, dark horse, but I'm really freaking good. So I think it's going to be Kyle Busch or Truex Jr. You know what? Let's actually pick, my official pick is Truex Jr. is going to come out, shock the NASCAR world, and win the Cup this Sunday. And it's going to be his arrival, a new star. I'm here. Here's another name that everyone who follows NASCAR needs to know and take seriously. Just like with the Kyle Busch or a Kurt Busch or a Joey Logano or a Dale Earnhardt Jr. or a Jeff Gordon or a Kevin Harvick or a Jimmy Johnson or a Matt Kenseth or a Brad Keselowski or blah, blah, blah. I know NASCAR racers' names. Yay me. But anyway, huge NASCAR. So if you're a fan, like I said, the next couple days, keep a lookout for those pole positions and stuff like that. And then come Saturday, or Sunday, enjoy the race. We'll see what happens. I just hope, my only hope is that the race ends with a real race ending, not, some delays and crashes and caution flags and crap like that. Like a real race ending, with as little doubt, doubtful controversy as possible. All right, that's a lot of NASCAR, and we'll be talking NASCAR next week yet too, letting you know how the championship all played out. So 3 topics to go here on the show. Those, of course, being WWE Pro Wrestling Sports Entertainment, NCAA College Football, and NFL Football. I got to go to football. We're putting WWE right before the deep thought of the day. So we got to go college football, pro football, college football, pro football. Let's go pro football because it's Vikings-Packers week. Vikings are in first place. The Vikings are in first. The Packers are in second. The Vikings are in first. The Packers are the worst. The Vikings are the first. The Packers are the worst. Unbelievable. It's all that you can ask for as a Minnesota football fan. Every 2 games a year. If the Vikings won 2 games every year and it was the 2 times they played the Packers, those would be good years. I'd be happy with that. Or maybe 4 games a year, the Bears and the Packers. I don't like losing to the Bears either. But we got Vikings-Packers. Vikings are in sole possession of first place right now at 7-2. Packers at 6-3. Vikings hosting this week's upcoming game. Packers have lost 3 in a row after starting out 6-0. Vikings, on the other hand, trending the right direction. They are the winners of 5 straight. Oh, man. That stinks. Sorry. Got sidetracked again, but T-Wolves end up losing a heartbreaker in overtime on a 3-pointer from someone on the Orlando Magic team with under 10 seconds to go. I want to say there's about 6 seconds to go or so. Pulls up, hits a 3-pointer. Orlando wins. It was tied at 101-101 at that time. They win 104-101. Okay. So, but back to football. Before I get too caught up and carried away in the Vikings-Packers hoopla, because it is Vikings-Packers week here in Minnesota, as I mentioned, let's get everyone caught up with what happened last week and where we're at right now, so that looking at everything next week, we're properly educated, and then we'll squeeze in the college football and the WWE, and of course a balls deep thought of the day. But so last week in the NFL was actually kind of a rare week for me as a pick'em, guru, self-appointed expert, what have you. Now, I did get half of the games right, winners and losers, which actually is pretty bad for me. 7 out of 14, half, that's not good for me. But ironically, where things were very different for me, from the norm, and also good, better, was my pick'em versus the spread last week. I got 9 out of 14 right. That's fantastic. Getting 9 right and 5 wrong, playing the spread, you're winning some money there. So last week would have been a rare week where I would have won money playing the spread. That's not the usual. Usually it's best to pick against my spread picks. And for the winners and losers, usually I do, at least 2/3, 75%, somewhere in there, on getting them correct last week at exactly 500. So that was a little odd. But anyway, in those games, the Thursday night game saw the Buffalo Bills beat the New York Jets in New York 22-17. That was the big Thursday night game where Ike Enemkpali, the guy who knocked out Geno Smith and broke his jaw, was named captain for the Buffalo Bills for that week. Something Rex does all the time, naming players captain when they play their former team. So not completely out of character, but it drew a lot of attention. Ultimately, the Bills come out on top. It was a little fluky towards the end, and they got lucky, but it doesn't matter. A win's a win. Moving on Sunday, we had the Rams get destroyed at home by the Chicago Bears. Don't look now, but the Bears have won a couple games in a row and actually appear to be a mediocre to average team. Like, they're not terrible. They don't suck really bad anymore. They just suck a little bit, or at times. But like I said, they beat the Rams in St. Louis 37-13. Story out of these two teams would be, like I said, Bears are doing good now. Even with Forte out, Langford, the backup rookie running back, is great. Defense is looking a little better, but the offense is looking sharp. Cutler, offensive line, everybody included in that. And then St. Louis Rams have now named Case Keenum their starting quarterback for next week's game, putting Nick Foles on the bench. And if you listened to my midterm report card, NFL report card on last week's show, you would know that Nick Foles was rated as the balls deep worst quarterback in the NFL thus far in the 2015 season, debatably alongside with Peyton Manning. We'll get to Peyton in just a second. Cleveland Browns, who I picked for no real reason at all other than I just had a hunch. Cleveland Browns lose on the road in Pittsburgh by a score of 9-30. Stories there involving the quarterbacks of each team. For the Cleveland Browns, not sure what Josh McCown's injury status is, but they have come out and named Johnny Manziel as their starting quarterback, not only for next week's game, but for the remainder of this season. So it's finally going to be Johnny football time here in Cleveland, and hopefully we will get an idea of if he can play or not. Unfortunate for Josh McCown, who had, a string of 3 games in a row where he was, over those 3 games, was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL this year. So unfortunate for Mr. McCown. Possibly fortunate for the Cleveland Browns organization and fan base. Definitely a good thing for Johnny Manziel. But then over in Pittsburgh, the story there with their quarterback situation, we all know their running back Le'Veon Bell is out for the year. That's not affecting anything. D'Angelo Williams is their backup, and he's still running great, producing very well. and they've got that high-powered offense with those great wide receivers. Martavis Bryant's back and blowing it up on the scoreboards. Antonio Brown is, still